Okay, good morning, boys and girls, or good afternoon. Tonight's homework is 12-1. We are rounding decimals to the nearest whole number. So 1 through 9, you're rounding to the nearest whole number, and 10 through 18, you're rounding to the nearest tenth. So make sure that you take note of that. Okay, so for number 1 through 9, just a quick reminder of how this works. This is just like when we round anything else. Let me zoom in on that for you. When we round anything else, if we're rounding to the nearest whole number, remember your whole number is the ones place. So there are 25 wholes, 78 hundredths. So if we're rounding to the nearest whole hundred, or to the nearest whole number, you mark this space. That would be the ones place. You look to the right. Okay, 4 or less. Remember, if it's 4 or less, then that number we marked right here is going to stay and rest. It'll stay where it's at. If it's 5 or more, we go up a floor. So remember, we talked about this today. It's kind of like this is a race car, okay? We mark the space. That's our car. Here's my wheels. Vroom, vroom. There's my race car. I look to the right. This is my stoplight. It's going to either be green or it's going to be red. If it's 5 or more, that means it's green. That means we go on to the next light. If it's 4 or less, that means we stop. We stay where we're at. So here's my race car. I mark the spot. I look to the right. There's my stoplight. It is 5 or more because it's a 7. 5 or more means it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. And since it's a 7, that means it's 5 or more. That means I get the green light. I go up a floor. I go up to the next light, and that 5 turns into a 6. Okay? Then in those empty right-hand spaces, so the 7 and the 8, those are the right-hand spaces, zeros keep the proper places. But remember, there was a 2 here, so you've got to make sure you take that 2 and plug it in. It has to stay the same. So 25 and 78 hundredths would round up to 26. Same thing here for number 52. Okay, we mark the space. That's going to be my race car. So 2 is my race car. Here's my little wheels. Vroom, vroom. We look to the right. That's my stoplight. If it's 4 or less, then it's going to stay and rest. But since it's 5 or more, I get a green light and I get to drive on to the next light. So if I move up a floor and drive on, that 2 is going to move up to a 3. So 53. And then in those empty right-hand spaces, zeros keep the proper places. Now on 27, I mark the space. I look to the right. Okay, here's my race car. I look to the right. This time it is 4 or less. So instead of having a green light, because it's 4 or less, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we get a red light. We cannot move on or we'll get a ticket. We've got to stop where we're at. So we are going to stay at the 7. The 2 will stay the same. And then in those empty right-hand spaces, zeros keep the proper places. So this one will stay at 27. Okay. Now for numbers 10 through 18, you're going to do the exact same thing, except now we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So let me do 1 or 2 of those, and then you guys can move on with your homework. So for number 10, we're rounding to the tenths place. That's right here. Okay. I won't make that a red light. I'll actually just put a box around it. I'm going to mark the space. Okay. Again, this is my race car. Okay. I mark the space, the tenths place. I look to the right. This one is 4 or less because it's 4, 3, 2, or 1. So remember, if it's 4 or less, we've got a red light. We stay and rest. Okay. So that means this one is going to stay where it's at. I put that decimal because the decimal is just to the left of the 1. And I have a 13. So the 13 stays the same. Everything to the left stays the same. But in the right-hand spaces, zeros keep the proper places. Okay, number 13. I'm going to the tenths place again on all of these. So I mark the space. I look to the right. This one is 5 or more. Now be careful on this one. We get a green light here. So we're going to move up a floor. We got the green light because that's a 9. So this 9 is going to go up to the next number, which would be 10. Now be careful here because you can't put a 10 in the tenths place. So what you do is that 9 will become a 0, and the 1 we're going to add over here. So instead of 9, now this will be 10. So 9 and 99 hundredths will round up to the number 10. Good luck on your homework tonight.